Oh, thank you.
That's a pretty hard.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's wicked.
It drops is
Oh, yes. I think I did when I was.
Is that a bid on
what they call it, it is, but it's really like the nine head.
Yeah, truck right.
Oh,
Was it that?
it's really intelligent. It's not anything under the regular.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the September 2nd, 2025 Stanley County Board of Education. We welcome all of you here tonight, those who are being recognized and your family and friends that are with you. Also, those who are joining us live stream, we welcome you also. First on our agenda is the approval of our agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to approve our agenda as presented.
Madam Chair, I would actually like to move to amend the agenda to include nominations for the North Carolina State Board Association Board of Directors.
We can do that. Where would you like to place that?
After public comments.
Okay, do I have a second to add that, to amend the agenda? Second, any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
I was actually just going to remind if I'm sure everybody knows, but the nominations are actually due September 25th. So that's why I wanted to do it before the next board meeting.
Yeah, we were actually gonna mention that a little later.
Oh,
but
okay.
We can take care of that. Just let me make sure I get that where that needs to be on our agenda. You said after closed session?
After public participation.
After public participation, okay. Okay, so we have amended the agenda, okay? So we've done the amendment. I still need a motion then to let's just approve the agenda with that one amendment. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment?
Motion to approve with the amendment.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion in that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. Next, we have our invocation and our pledge of allegiance, and Ms. Megan Allman will handle that for us tonight.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for all of our guests that are here tonight. Father, I just pray blessings over their lives. Father, just continue to be with the students in our county, help the board and administration, just guide us to make decisions that are best for this county. And Father, we just thank you for everything that you're doing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Allman. Next on our agenda is Stanley Stars. Dr. Dennis and Ms. Hedrick.
Good evening. Each month, Stanley County Schools proudly recognizes exceptional certified and classified employees as our Stanley Stars. This month, we will honor the following individuals. And when I call your name, if you'll come up front to receive your certificate and then remain off to the side until the very end, I know the board wants to congratulate you. First, from Aquadell Elementary, Sarah Lee. Miss Lee is the data manager at Aquadell. She is working diligently to navigate Infinite Campus and the changes that come with the new information system. Families and teachers trust her guidance as we all learn something new. No matter how many tasks she has, each question is met with genuine care, concern, and support. Thank you, Miss Lee. I'd also like to invite Meredith Louder. Miss Louder is a new addition to the third grade team as a teacher, but not new to Aquadale. She's previously taught fourth and fifth grade English language arts. While change is often met with apprehension, Mrs. Louder has embraced her new grade with curiosity, learning the differences while helping students maintain their love of reading and building confidence. Mrs. Louder is a great example for all to follow when approaching something new. Next, from South Stanley Middle, I'd like to invite Sarah Calicut to the podium. Mrs. Calicut is a teacher at South Stanley Middle School and has dedicated her entire 22-year career to South Middle. She embodies school spirit, and I can attest to that. She was harassing our superintendent over best sports team. She, she is passionately supporting all things South Stanley Middle School, proudly wearing her red, white, and black, you can see tonight, and a strong leader on her grade level and throughout the building. Mrs. Calicut goes above and beyond to support colleagues by leading professional development sessions that strengthen the teaching staff. She's also a valued member of the district's Literacy Champions Initiative and has shared her expertise at multiple conferences. Mrs. Calicut is an irreplaceable part of the South Stanley Middle School family, and we are thrilled to celebrate her today as a Stanley Star. Not in attendance, but we do want to celebrate Heather Long, the data manager at South Stanley Middle School. Mrs. Long plays a pivotal role at South Stanley Middle as the dedicated data manager, supporting teachers, students, and the entire school community with her exceptional knowledge and commitment. In addition to managing data with precision, she mentors students and closely monitors their academic progress, helping ensure they reach their full potential. Her willingness to go above and beyond ensures that South Stanley Middle runs smoothly each day. Miss Long is a team player and an invaluable part of our school family, and this recognition is well deserved. Congratulations, Mrs. Long. One more round of applause for our Stanley Stars. And if y'all will hold on, we have one more recognition that we're going to do, and then we'll send you all through to be congratulated by our board.
Thank you, Ms. Hedrick. I would like to go ahead and I want to recognize someone in the audience, one of our educators for a very distinguished award, the Fulbright Teacher Exchange Award. This year, we have Daniela Robinson, an educator at Stanfield Elementary School, was awarded the Fulbright Teacher Exchange Award for the 25-26 cycle by the U.S. Department of State and the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Board. She joins a distinguished group of 400 educators participating in this global exchange program, which fosters international collaboration, cultural understanding, and sharing of innovative teaching practices worldwide. Congratulations.
Want to go ahead and do
Okay, I had one more on my list. I wanted to make sure.
Thank you for all you
Sick,
do.
remember that night in front of those kids? Congratulations.
All that you do for our kids. Thank you for all that you do. Yeah, yes, ma'am. That's an honor. You enjoy. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations, what an honor.
It's a great accomplishment. Good job. Give me any water.
You can have mine if you want. I was gonna say that.
So,
As soon as I got mine, grab that.
Yeah.
I've got a key. Like, oh, you did on I get home.
You need this one? Dr. Dennis, are you taking the next one? All right.
The global.
So next we're going to talk about Go Global NC. Stanley County Schools is proud to celebrate our 24-25 Teacher of the Year, Mr. Ron George, who was awarded a prestigious opportunity to travel to the Netherlands this June for an international professional development experience. This evening, he is here to present to the board and share valuable learning insights he gained during his time abroad. Mr. George.
Thank you. Well, I find myself every year feel like 2 years ago, I was blessed to find my way to Stanley County and North Stanley High School. This is just one of those blessings I've been gifted. The Hayes Charitable Trust, there were 4 or 5 of us from the Hayes Charitable Trust. This was one of the truly most amazing professional development opportunities of my life. I won't spend 3 hours. I won't spend more than 10 minutes, I promise. Speaking of this, but I think there's so much misconception when people hear about, European education versus American education, the Netherlands versus America. I assure you, there's some things they do well, but I also assure you there's lots of things we do well. And in fact, one of the comments from someone from the Ministry of Education was that they are now starting to travel to the United States to see what we're doing because of some of the issues that they have. One of the refreshing, if not necessarily positive things I found with my time there was that, when you meet other teachers, and there's a picture of me with one of the secondary school teachers, kids are kids. When I met the kids at this at secondary school, kids are kids. They dress the same as our kids. They talk the same as our kids. They raise heck the same as our kids. They're no different. Their kids are no more special than ours. I also found from a teacher that spoke that their reading and math scores have dropped significantly. I believe 17% and 22% consecutively. So they're battling that. They're battling the issues that we had to confront with COVID. They're battling cell phones. They are battling student apathy. Their kids are no different than our kids. They're battling a teacher shortage similar to here. They're battling teacher burnout. They're battling some of exactly the same issues that we face here in Stanley County, which some of the negatives, but it was refreshing to hear school teachers and refreshing to hear administrators say some of the same issues that we go to, because it felt camaraderie. I broke my talk into really deep diving Netherlands into 3 categories. There's a category where we can't take what they are doing because there are just simply cultural differences between our 2 countries. You can go to the next slide, please. As it said and I take these rankings with a grain of salt. Any kind of data, you need to talk about data and take it with a grain of salt. But technically, they're ranked 3rd in the world with however they do it, and we were 31st. Again, I always take those rankings with a grain of salt. But one of the things that we can't change is cultural. The Netherlands is about half the size of North Carolina, about the size of New Jersey. So clearly, dealing with America is different. Their schools don't have lunch programs. None of them do. Their parents are expected to feed their kids at lunch. Their schools do not have sports programs. There's no high school sports. If you want to play sports, it's all private. And think of the multitude of budgetary issues. Think of the multitude of other issues, from discipline, from following North Carolina sports and what. Think of everything we have to deal with when it comes to that. And being someone who's been an athlete my whole life, these are things I wouldn't want to change. I think our education we provide here in Stanley County with some of these things are far richer for the students. I'm not criticizing anybody, but I think some of the things we do provide our kids provide a much richer education for those kids. And they do not have transportation. If you want to get to school, you either have to take the bus, public transportation, which is really, really good, or you ride a bicycle. They're famous for their bicycles. And I just want you to imagine, being the people who run Stanley County, if you took those things off your plate, how different we could, just budgetary, how different things could be. I look at the second category are things that we could do, but it would take great political will, and I'm not sure we'd want to do them. But it could be done. And as I go through this list of things we could do, I want you to think of true charter schools. You look at charter schools here and true school choice, because that is the Netherlands. Schools are based on academic performance. At age 12, all of their kids take a test, and that determines which school they go to. And it is truly that it's a decision made by their test and by the teacher, not the parent. And so there are 3 levels of schools. There are trade-focused schools, there are professional-focused schools, and there are advanced focused schools. My question was, okay, well, what if a parent really doesn't agree with the placement of their child? As you know, and they said, well, there is an in-between. They'll let you go to the next level, but on a probationary basis. And if you don't make it, you will go back to that other school. There is no choice. So, that's one. And this was the most amazing thing that I saw, is it's truly autonomous. Their schools, and again, take this with a grain of salt. Some things we could. Do we want to do that? Do we not? But their schools are truly autonomous. Each school, socialism, is funded by the state. And I want you to think of their educational system is every school is a charter school with school choice. And so and they are truly autonomous. Next page, please. And some of the highlights of their autonomy would be that, again, in their schools, there are no school boards. There are no school districts. There is no central office. Their schools, a school is totally autonomous. They get state funding. Every school is funded, including religious schools. In fact, their constitution requires, it would be a violation of their constitution if they didn't fund private religiously based schools. So the school would get this amount of money, and anybody can start a school, again, just very similar to charter schools. The school itself is run by the stakeholders of the school. I pictured this as our SIT committees. The school has elected teachers from that school. They have community members. There is leadership that's hired by the school, but each school decides their own decision making. And if they make poor decisions, parents have every right to move their kids from one school to another. Their budgets are autonomous. The government will send the budget and the school will decide how that money is spent. I have a few examples, and we went to all sorts of different schools. They're struggling with immigration themselves and English as a second language. Well, one of the schools decided to add an ESL teacher who speaks the language of the student body that is most being affected that are coming in. So they're dealing with some of the same challenges we are. One of the schools with the school lunch program, one of the elementary schools was in a socioeconomically poor district. And again, the school does not provide lunches. So what they decided to do with their money is they hired parents to come into school, and they would buy bread and sandwich meat and fruit and everything, and the parents would earn a salary and make their lunches. Again, it's choice, but it is truly up to them. In agricultural school, if you want to be a farmer, you can go to an agricultural school where 2/3 of the day you're in the fields farming. What happens is the Ministry of Education, they have certain goals. Hey, listen, at age 12, these are some of the things your kids have to learn. And in secondary school, around what would be our age, 10th grade and 11th grade, they take another test which will determine which university they go to. And again, with universities, there's choice too. And they do pay for their university. It's not free, but it's on a sliding scale. Some kids could go free, but if you can afford it, you will pay for university. Here's one of the most amazing things. Their schedules, because the school is completely autonomous, their schedules are autonomous. You can work a 3-day week, a 4-day week, or a 5-day week if you're a teacher. And if your family determines that it would be best for you right now to work 3 days a week, you can work 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. And their schedules, I saw that teacher, their schedules are nothing like you've ever seen. And like everyone has to be in on Tuesday, but other than that, and they don't have substitute teachers. If a teacher is absent one day, the kids have a free period. Not sure how that would look at North Stanley, but we'll see that one. The teacher's curriculum is completely autonomous. So in other words, the social studies teacher that I was talking with, at the end of the year, the social studies department will get together and they will discuss what curriculum do they need next year. So an example he gave, well, they decided that they needed more on World War I and World War II. So that teacher who's autonomous in the classroom created a lessons on World War I, World War II. So the Ministry of Education sets those endpoints and the school determines them. And teacher pay is higher. We'll leave that one right now. But something that we definitely can do, and this is my third category, is we can definitely do, and I saw this make an impact on kids, and I talked to their kids, is we can have a mentor program here where every teacher builds relationships with one group of kids. And I've seen it done before. I did it at Audrey Kell for a little while, but we did it at Weddington for a little while. But I will tell you what it became was an additional prep for the teacher, and the teachers just didn't buy into it. And they have 2 days a week, a class where each teacher, it is, mentorship class. And that's their class 2 days a week. And and the teachers have really bought in because it's not an additional lesson to them. It is truly, in my words, inspirational, and it's something we could definitely do. Let me give you an example. There were 3 kids that talked to us at that school I showed. One of them was being bullied, something we experience here every day. And he specifically said because of the relationship he built with his mentor teacher, he was able to get past that period in his life. There was another student that was sitting right there, and he said he was going to flunk out of, and he was in the highest level school. He was going to flunk out. They don't mess around. If you don't make the grades in that high level school, you will be bumped to the next school. There's an appeal process, and he said he was about to be bumped, and his mentor was so close to him that his mentor worked him through, and now he's in his last year and he's going to university. And there was a girl who spoke to us and said, no, it didn't do anything for him. But what I see as a 32-year educator is we can build relationships with kids. If a kid can feel comfortable to come and talk to a teacher, a professional in that building, and say, hey, I'm getting bullied, or hey, I don't like myself very much, or I don't understand school, or what college should I go to, what university? You know, it's just so, that is one thing we can all do. And I'm blessed by God that I came to Stanley County every day. I walk in to North Stanley, and I just thank God that I'm at North Stanley, and I will be finishing my career at North Stanley. Not this year and not next year. But I just really appreciate all of you. Thank you. And I'll answer any questions. If anybody has a question, if not.
You know, there were things that I heard you say that I feel like, I don't want to say that we get complaints on, but in a sense, yes. So no substitutes. It's something, it's just a substitute shortage.
Yep.
Transportation, not that it's the transportation system itself, but it's the lack of bus drivers.
Right.
I think if we would take, I can't even imagine us taking away transportation or athletic.
No, I can't either.
Substitutes.
And I'm not sure I'd want to. Again, those
Right.
were some of the things. And again, they're the size of New Jersey.
Right, makes a difference. But the one thing you had down there was the teachers bought into it.
Yep.
You can be successful with almost anything
If the
you
teacher-
get your teachers to buy into
I
it.
agree with you 1,000%. And just, I agree.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We
Oh,
enjoyed
thank
the
you.
presentation.
Again, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank the Hayes Charitable Trust. And
Ms. Alman
I
has a
have a,
question.
I do
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
question. Is there a website that we can go to look into this?
oh
more-
boy,
I have-
there is the Go Global or the Netherlands educational system.
Okay.
But I've looked into, we had some great discussions. They had experts come. This was an amazing professional development that was put together. It truly was. I mean, we were on the go every day, and we had experts talking to us even before we got there. And it was a lot of work. It was not a, trip in Amsterdam on the boats, okay? But we did go on the boats, but just through the canals. But it was truly amazing. We saw all levels of school. We spoke to the Ministry of Defense. There are things they do well. There are things culturally we just can't. And if you look on the Netherlands website, I apologize, I don't have it here. We can't do here.
Yeah.
And do we want to do them here? But it was truly awesome. It really
Mr.
was.
Lewis.
Thank you. You mentioned school choice, but they took a test at 12 years old and are forced to go to these like certain schools and then get bumped down. So does the school choice come between like age 5 and 12?
No,
or-
I misspoke. At age 12, there is a primary school, correct? So there's a primary school that they would go to, and at age 12, they take that first placement exam. And there are all different schools in the same area. Any group can start a school, they apply to the federal government. So the first placement exam happens at age 12. And there's a lot of pushback on that one. The guy from the Ministry of Defense and the college professor, I thought were going to go to blows over this. As you can well imagine, in many respects, a 12-year-old's future is being decided at 12. And there are different areas that have better schools than others. There is a socioeconomic, just like we have here. I'm not 100% sure what happens, but they have public kindergarten. But the kindergarten that they go to, they don't take a test to get in there, but they have a choice on which one they want to go to. And I guess that's the best I could give. And then at age 12 determines your secondary school placement.
So choice up to 12 and then they lose their choice.
Choice up to 12, and then in a very real sense, they lose their choice. Yes. And now, like I said, there's an in between. Hey, I disagree. My kid shouldn't go to the trade school. doesn't want to go to those places. And there's different culturally. They look at trade schools the way they used to when I was in high school, that every kid is different and every kid has a different future. And it's okay if you go to that school. It's changing, but I noticed a very different cultural way that they look at those. But you can go to that next level, even with there's an appeals process. You go to that next level, but in 6 months they're going to reevaluate. And if you are struggling, you will have to go to that next level. And in everybody's area, there's these 3 levels of school everywhere in all the areas. And like I said, the public transportation can get you from one side of the country to the other like that. And true, that you would have to have that in order to.
Well, the general statute states we don't have to provide transportation, but I can't imagine that
it
would
either.
ever be the case.
Yeah, and like I said, I think people get a misconception of the Netherlands and America, and one's good, one's bad, and this and that, because it's very different. It's they have their system and they have their problems and their struggles, and we have different struggles here in Stanley County, and I don't think we could ever do without transportation. I'll guarantee you there's probably a constitutional principle that would refuse us to do that, or feed our kids, or.
Well, I rode the bus, so it's.
I rode the bus too. I didn't have a car when I was in high school. I appreciate you not giggling at my accent too, because I just said car and I realized that I taught bus. But yeah, I took public transportation to and from school, and I don't know how else I would have gotten to school without a bus. But I think the next trip, they're actually got more funding. They're going to have 2 of these trips next year, and I think they're going to Africa, Uganda. But it's just really neat to see. Yes, there are differences, but you know what? We're the same.
Right.
Madam
Any
Madam
other
Chair,
questions?
I just wanted to thank Mr. George for taking some time out of his summer to bring this perspective back to Stanley County and to us. I know that that's your time off, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I like I said, I'm blessed every day I'm in Stanley County.
Ms. Gibson has a question.
I think I have 2. First of all, if I'm hearing correctly, it seems like their teachers are empowered.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
That is something that really spoke out to me, because I certainly feel that our teachers need to be more empowered.
And
Yes, you may.
and that was one of the main things when speaking to the teacher is, when the teacher's in their classroom, I kept trying to prod them with like, okay, yeah, do you have a PDP or do you? No, I'm not. But do you, like, how much control is over the teacher? And the teachers were like, well, here are our end goals, and I teach. And now there is an evaluation process, and I asked about that. And if you're not making the grade in whatever school you are, they will remove you and put you in a lower school. They'll have another job for you, but there's that respect that teacher is in that room, and that teacher is expected to be the expert, and that teacher is expected to work every day at what they do. And like I said, there are evaluations, but and it's pretty amazing when you looked at their schedules.
Yes.
that
Yes.
how unbelievably empowering
Yes.
their schedule.
Yes. And truly, I like that. We have I'm looking around in here some principals that are, to me, global leaders as well. But I see that as something that all of Stanley County needs to embrace with global leadership. And one other thing, I love your passion about the mentorship. And I know exactly what you mean, where sometimes it seems like you start it, it's not exactly what you want, or teachers feel like it's an added prep.
I just wonder if when you are at North Stanley High School now this year, is it something that your school will try to focus on a little bit more, or is this something with your sit team or?
Well, I'm certainly going to speak. I'm speaking to the staff tomorrow, and uh, certainly it's something. I mean, I would love to do there, but again, um, I know how I would present it and how I would sell the program to the teachers, because there's nothing more impactful than a teacher who has a positive relationship with the kid and is an adult, which many times, some of us don't act that way. But I think that it would, if it could be presented in a way, and I'm probably not smart enough to figure out how to present it that way, but to make it how impactful it could be, but it's not extra work. And it would have to be built into the schedule. The way I've seen it done in the past is they take your prep period and do it. Teachers will look at that and struggle. I've seen it after school programs. Teachers will look at that and struggle. I've seen it where they take 10 minutes out of every class and create a homeroom with it. And those kids will then be. That was probably the closest I've seen to them. But then all of a sudden, there are rules and regulations and data points and this, and then it just becomes another thing a teacher has to do during the day. I have a relationship with that teacher, and I was going to talk to him in the coming months about, well, how do you guys do it? Because I mean, it's changed kids' lives, and that's something we could do. We could avert a lot of the problems in a building if that kid just had an adult and a mature adult in that building that they could speak.
Right. I agree. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mr. George.
Thank you.
We appreciate you
Appreciate
taking your
you.
time. Next on our agenda is closed session. So I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for personnel matters, North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A6. Student matters, North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A1. And attorney-client matters, North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11A3.
Move to go in closed session.
I have a motion to go into closed session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. We are in closed session. Okay, I'll call us back into open session. Next on our agenda is public comments, and we did not have anyone who signed up to speak tonight. So next we have a department presentation, and Mike Lambert, our transportation director, is going to give us a presentation and teach us about transportation
Madam,
tonight.
Madam Chair, I thought we put the nominations after.
You did. I'm sorry. And I've got that written here real big on the other side. Okay, so we decided we amended our agenda and we need to do for the North Carolina School Board Association. They had sent us an email asking for nominations for any of our board members who are interested in serving on the board of directors. So I will open the floor up for nominations at this time.
I would like to nominate Mrs. Glenda Gibson.
Okay, Mr. Elias has nominated Ms. Glenda Gibson. Any other nominations?
I would like to nominate Carla Poplin.
Okay, Ms. Carla Poplin has been nominated. So we'll take the vote for Ms. Glenda Gibson first. All those in favor of Ms. Glenda Gibson serving as a nominee to go to North Carolina School Board Association for directors, Board of Directors. Yes, okay. So
Madam Chair, are we allowed to have any kind of discussion before we vote?
Usually on nomination.
normally you don't on nominations, Mr. Louder.
If you can.
Okay, all right. So before we vote, discussions on those two nominees then, Ms. Glenda Gibson and Carla Poplin?
Yeah, I actually wrote out or had this to read just because I mean, it's kind of important to me,
Yes, it
at
is
least.
important.
So I don't typically like to read, but when you're nominating for somebody for the North Carolina School Board Association, I think this is important to articulate. So I would like to submit a nomination for Mrs. Carla Poplin to serve on the North Carolina School Board Association for the Board of Directors. Ms. Poplin is dedicated and experienced in education leadership who brings a wealth of knowledge, community insight, and a deep commitment to public service. Her longstanding role on the Stanley County Board of Education, including her time as board chair, reflects her unwavering dedication to students, educators, and the future of public education in North Carolina. In addition to her leadership at the local board level, Ms. Poplin has made a significant contribution at the state level through her service on the NCSBA State Legislative Committee. And in this role, she is actively engaged in policy discussions and advocacy efforts that support school systems across the state, demonstrating her ability to think strategically while keeping the needs of local communities in the focus. She's also widely respected for her integrity, thoughtful leadership, and student-centered approach, and she is a level-headed leader who leads with compassion and accountability. So with this, I believe that she has the skills, the vision, and the heart to help guide our state school board through today's challenges and towards a brighter future for every student here in Stanley County.
Thank you, Ms. Almond. Any other discussion?
I'll just add to it then, since we're gonna have discussion.
Pull that closer to you if you would.
Yeah, Carla's a great option. I mean, I love Carla. I've known Carla for a long time, and I would agree with all that you said. Mrs. Gibson's been chair of this board multiple years, vice chair multiple years, a retired educator in this county, a coach in this county, unwavering leadership. She's shown a tremendous dedication to the county. I cannot remember the award, Mrs. Gibson, but for all the education that you've received as a board member is at the top. She's retired and she has the time. So I know that as a working individual with a family, such as Carla, that it is tough sometimes for us to get to these meetings. So although I think Carla is a great option, and I certainly would support everything that Mrs. Almond stated, I believe that in this case, Mrs. Glenda Gibson is the better choice. And that's not to say anything to Carla, but I like Mrs. Gibson in this case. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
If I can figure out the mic.
Just
is
pull it real
working? Can
close
y'all-
to you, Mr. Swanson.
Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I would be honored for either one of these ladies to represent us in this election process. It is a process that's beyond us, though. We're sending a nominee that's got to go through a election on the part of many boards across the state. my perspective has always been for putting kids in for scholarships would be the same thing here. Who's got the more powerful resume? And I think because this is a quasi-political office, I think Ms. Poplin's involvement with the charities and her background makes us a stronger candidate on paper. Like I said, I'd be honored to be the one of these ladies to win that thing. So that's all I got to say.
Any other discussion? You did bring up a good point, Mr. Swanson. This is just us sending a nominee. It is not the person, we don't know whether they will be selected to serve on the board of directors. But I'm excited that we do have two people who are willing to give of their time. And I do believe it will be time consuming. But I think we're fortunate to have two people who are interested in doing that. So if there's no other discussion, then we're going to vote for Ms. Gibson first, since she was nominated first. So all those in favor of Ms. Glenda Gibson being our nominee, say aye.
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 Three of you. All right. And all those in favor of Ms. Carla Poplin, say aye.
Aye.
So that is tied. And my vote will go with Ms. Glenda Gibson. So Ms. Gibson will be our nominee.
Congratulations, Ms. Gibson.
Mr. Lambert, we're going to move to you now. Sorry, I called you up too early.
No problem whatsoever. All right, so I think we're going to bring up a PowerPoint. I really do appreciate the fact coming and speak to the board tonight and just talk a little bit about transportation. It's such a complex department. We touch the lives of so many kids. We're transporting about half the enrollment. I'll get to that number in a minute, but we actually to date have nearly 4,000 kids who have requested transportation, and that's the highest number I've seen in the 10 years I've been here. So that's getting closer to 50%. So it's going to be kind of a high level conversation, but if I give some information you want to ask me questions about or want me to elaborate, I'd be glad to. Myself as the director, I'll just say we're a size of a county that the director is very hands-on, and you're more than just a manager. I have a bus license. I drive a bus. I'm involved with any type of I'm the one doing the reporting to the state that is required every year. Tara Mask is says routing coordinator, but she's routing coordinator, which includes travel tracker coordinator. Travel tracker is a program that we use for our activity buses and our county cars. If someone needs to use one of those vehicles, they can put the request in travel tracker, and the trip is documented and the mileage is documented, and eventually it's sent to Mr. Dundee so it can be charged out to the program. She's the manager of that, and she's also our CDL manager. And I say that because the management of our CDL license has gotten so complex and challenging over the last couple of years, especially in the last 6 months. We have 250 licensed employees in Stanley County Schools, and she's responsible for every one of them, making sure that they get their training, get their license, get their DOT medical examination scheduled, and anything can happen once they get their license to help retain that. We're seeing a lot of clerical errors at the medical examination level when that certificate is sent into the federal database and then it's sent back to DMV, and a clerical error can kick out someone's CDL license and cause them not to be able to drive a bus. So it's very challenging. Jody Nance is bookkeeper, payroll. She is brand new. Someone decided to hire her on day one of school. I don't know who in my right mind would do that, but she came back the next day, so I guess it worked out okay. Because the first day is organized chaos where you're answering phones, answering emails, schools are calling, kids are calling, parents are calling. So her whole first week was really training on how to manage the dispatch, manage the phones, and how to respond to parents and how to talk with them. All right, so we have 4 mechanics that serve the entire county. I'll start at the right with Cecil Shaw is a part-time mechanic. He's actually a retired full-time mechanic for Stanley County Schools. I hired him back as a part-time, so he's a 29-hour employee that mainly runs the fuel route. He also fills in as a mechanic in his other hours. To the left is Dustin Lee. He's a shop foreman. And again, our size, he's a full-time mechanic also. And Jeff Swearingen and Travis Williams are full-time mechanics. And this number, we have some vacancies with our mechanics because it's extremely difficult to hire mechanics. But we, just so you know, we stagger their work shift because buses running 12 hours a day. They start running at 5:30 in the morning, still running 5:30 in the afternoon. So they all report to work at the beginning of buses starting their operation because I want to make sure all the buses crank and start their multiple routes. Uh, One of the challenging things about only having 3 that can do that is we stagger their times when they leave. And if one of them's out for some reason, then you're down to 2 mechanics having to work 10 hours a day instead of an 8-hour day. But they all do a good job. They're all 3 are had the certification to inspect school buses every 30 days. You know, your car is inspected once a year. Mechanic has to go through a state examination, become an inspector, and they go out and inspect every one of our buses, including our active buses, every 30 days to make sure they are qualified to run on the road. These are our area coordinators. They are the supervisors at each school district. I have one assigned to every high school district. Caitlin Furr is the South Stanley, Amanda North Stanley, Smith is West Stanley, and Jim again is in Albemarle. They, first of all, they're full-time bus drivers because of the need, but they also are responsible for managing the routes in their district and their bus drivers in their district. So it's a very complex position that they have to hold, and they have to talk with parents and talk with schools. So that they are the hands-on person at the school level. So right now we have about 96 buses, including spares. We actually operate about 70 each day, and each one of those buses runs it. Well, we have a few that runs one route, but most of them run at least 2 routes. Some run 3, 4, and even 5 routes a day. So you're talking closer to 150 to 200 routes when you talk about 70 buses running. And right now we have 60 regular drivers, and that's including my coordinators, that number, because they're assigned to a regular route. And so you can do the math. Every day we're 10 bus drivers short. So we pull from that from school staff, from TAs. We have a few subs that we can depend on. There are all kinds of, there are a couple teachers that drive for us. But so anyway, ridership request to date, and this was last week when I put this together, was 3,947. Again, that's the largest number I've seen, and we're having to do it with fewer buses and drivers. We have over 2,000 stops. That was a number I pulled from last year's data. We try every chance we get to condense and make a corner stop or community stop so we can serve one bus stop for multiple people rather than a front door stop. That's why that number is very important, because some of the larger districts, I mean, or the majority of their bus stops are community stops. We traveled over 1 million miles last year, using 180,000 gallons a day. You can about figure that we burn about 1,000 gallons per day at school. We currently have 18 activity buses in service, and there's that number, 250 CDL drivers within the district. I put that over here on the athletic support because, back to the math, our regular route buses, we process about 90 to 100 payroll bus drivers every month, and that's including field trips too. So it could be the same person multiple times. But we have 250 folks with a license. We have one 14-passenger minibus that does not require a CDL license, but we do make anyone who is going to be transporting students in that bus, they go through a training process that we have put together. And we have 4 7-passenger minivans. One's located at each high school, and that's used for small sports like golf, wrestling, tennis, uh, and they're available in Travel Tracker. That if one high school needs multiple vans, they can share that. That's been a good addition to our fleet. This is a short video, a newscast from Channel 36. It was Weather IQ, and it talks about school buses. It also talk about how weather impacts school buses and um, school closings. And I asked Dr. Dennis if I could show this because I think it's very interesting to see things that can happen to cause a school to be closed or a bus not to be able to run. We didn't pay for this commercial.
We do not endorse. In the next slide, uh, I'll just put some facts together about how it affects us here in Stanley County. Um, as I mentioned, wind, we make a decision if winds are weather watch up to 39 or sustained at 39 miles an hour or greater, then we're going to take buses off the road. Uh, and we always, every one of these things you see, we're working with Dr. Dennis to make those decisions. Snow and ice, that's part of the one that's the trickiest because, we could have a icy condition in Richfield and not have it in Norwood. And so we're having to make decisions for the whole county, or do we isolate a decision that we can't run buses in this area? Or, what's the decision on that particular event? And, sometimes the public only sees the sunny side of the county and not the bad weather. And we may have made a decision for the whole county based on that. Flooding can potentially be more isolated if uh, we have a flooding condition on one road, then there's a good chance I can close that road for buses and still keep the whole county open. And that's happening more these days because DOT's gotten uh, stricter about evaluating a flooding condition. When the water goes down, they will keep the road closed just to check out the storm drains.
before they open the road again. But again, most of those cases is road by road, but which keeps the schools open. A little about communication. There's different ways we communicate with schools closing. Okay, I think that was what I wanted to say. So I'll entertain.
Any questions for Mr. Lambert?
Mr. Lambert, the 14 passenger and the vans, are they leases or we own this straight out?
We own them.
Okay.
Yeah, we purchased them.
This is a comment for Mr. Swearingen, one of your guys.
Yeah.
He helped an elderly lady hook up her camper hookups this last weekend. She happens to be my son-in-law's mama. But I thought that was a really nice thing for him to do. She's elderly and battling cancer, trying to hook up her camper by herself because her husband's been gone. So I thought, I want you to let him know I personally appreciate
I
that.
will.
This has got nothing to do with Stanley County Schools, but
Yeah.
it's got everything to do with character.
He was not in the service vehicle, right? Good.
And Miss
Yeah.
Miss Whitaker, not a question, but just a comment. I just wanted to say, I know we asked earlier, but thank you. I know you have been driving, and I think your coordinators have been driving since we're short. And so I just want folks out there to know that you guys are doing everything you can to make those routes as efficient and on time as possible. So thank you. Even though we're short, we're
I
we're
appreciate
still
that.
getting kids picked up into school. So
We've had a lot of conversations and we are with all of us together, you know, Dr. Dennis and Lydia, we're all working towards not having buses to sit. That's our goal. And, you know, in comparison, it's been less than these first couple of weeks than it has in years in past, but we're moving in that direction. Somebody else had a question?
Any other questions? I just want to say thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
You know, I understand it
Absolutely.
probably better than anyone else sitting here does. So
Yeah.
not only what you do, but also what your wife does. I don't know if Sandy's still driving a bus this year. Is she?
She is. Yeah.
Okay. So not only for her driving a bus, but
Mhm.
what I know she deals with
Yeah.
at your home too, when there's bad weather and you have all these weather alerts going off. So I'm looking forward to this winter since Art's retired and we won't have to go out or he won't have to get up in the middle of the night to go out to check the roads. It'll be a nice change for our household, but we do thank you for what you do. It is
Absolutely.
it's a 24-hour, 27-day-a-week job. It really is. It's not just when our buses that carry our students are on the road, but there's always athletics. So there's always those activity buses that are out there. So thank you again for what you do.
And I'll add to that about our mechanics, you know, across the entire state, you know, all school system mechanics are state employees and we help each other. I mean, I had a call Friday night from Union County. They had a bus broke down in Stanley County.
Right.
And so if we can, we help them. But that happens not just us, everywhere. And so it is 24 hours when athletics is going on.
Yeah. I know you said you were short staffed as far as mechanics. How many positions do you have open there?
Well, I'm gonna say 1.5 since I have
Uh-huh.
a 29-hour position.
Okay.
We've advertised several different ways. We've advertised for a full-time mechanic. We've advertised for a 6-hour, 4-hour, and a 2-hour mechanic. And my thoughts in that was if I could hire a bus driver that could drive 6 hours and do 2 hours mechanic, I could create a full-time position.
Right.
And we've kind of done that with some. Let me tell them about that. We've created some full positions at the school level, like custodian and a bus driver. I'm just going to use 4 hours for example. A 4-hour custodian, a 4-hour bus driver gives them 8 hours a day.
Right.
So they're a full-time employee with benefits. Now they can right now they could hire or apply for a 4-hour custodian and a 4-hour bus driver, but they're two separate jobs. We're trying to make it seem or be created as one job for that school. And it went live this week or last week, and you know, I've had one of my bus drivers already show interest in it. And you may think, well, I'm losing as a bus driver a couple hours. I don't know yet, but even if he is bus hours decrease, I'm retaining an employee too,
Mhm.
because now he
It
has
needs
full-time
full-time, right?
benefits. So we look in every different direction we can to,
Having to think outside the box a
Yeah.
little.
Well,
absolutely.
And Miss Whitaker, I think would be remiss to say if there's anybody out there interested in driving a bus,
Right.
please call the county office.
We
I
will
I
give you a
hope
job.
Miss Hedrick doesn't have, but ask to speak to Miss Hedrick. She can get you where you need to go. If you're interested at all in doing that for us.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks for
Lambert.
letting me speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If y'all excuse me, I'm going home.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming and sharing your information. Next, we have our consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Those are approved. Next, we have committee reports, and first we have Ms. Glenda Gibson for Capital Improvement Planning Committee.
So the the Capital Improvement Committee met on August the 19th, where Miss Ashley Dennis from Mosley Architect provided information regarding the needs-based capital grant application, which opened on August the 18th. And the deadline for submitting the application will close on October the 3rd, 2025. Ms. Ashley Dennis stated that the current data from Mosley Architects aligns with the Numeric study, providing clear recommendations on what is needed within the district that will provide the greatest impact at this time, and that is a new Oakboro Elementary School to address the elementary level growth, a West Stanley Middle School addition to accommodate the growth and impact the curriculum opportunities. The estimated construction is around $450 a square foot, which has doubled in cost over the last 2 to 3 years. I did make a note to Hope. I talked with her today to make a correction so everyone can see this in the committee minutes within the cost of that square foot. That was inaccurate, accurately imprinted in the minutes. The CIP committee asked Ms. Ashley Dennis to present the needs-based capital grant application process and her recommendations to the full board during the work session that was held on August the 22nd. And the needs-based capital grant application package will involve the application for the addition of West Stanley Middle School, a new Oakboro Elementary School that will be submitted and approved as one project by the state. Our board unanimously approved moving forward with the needs-based grant application. Dr. Dennis then submitted a letter to the county manager, Andy Lucas, to all of our county commissioners on August the 24th, informing them that the Stanley County Board of Education unanimously approved pursuing the needs-based school capital grant. Securing the funding requires only a 5% local match from the county, but to be noted here, Ms. Ashley Dennis highlighted the importance of an increased percentage match as a demonstration of having skin in the game, which had previously been served advantageous in securing the needs-based capital grants. So I know that our board is in this process of setting a date to meet with our commissioners, as well as I think Madam Chair, you have said that we're looking at setting a date for our board work session in the very near future. So once again, through the committee, through the work session, the needs-based public school capital funding grant opened August the 18th. It's going to close October the 3rd. Personally, I would just like to thank the board members for their well, for their questions that were asked, for their being a part of our work session, and then for that unanimous decision to move forward in pursuing the needs-based capital grant. So that's what I have to report at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Next, we have Finance, Mr. Lisk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met on August 19th as a committee. We've done this, I believe, the last 3 years that I've chaired this committee. To each time we've made our budget request, we have itemized out potentially where these funds will go that dictate what the needs are for the system, how the money would be used. We've really built a lot of the requests around curriculum and supporting our teachers. The total overall increase in current expense, which for the public think about unrestricted money, the commissioners have the ability to line item certain things that they would like funded, such as teacher supplement grants, the Article 44 sales tax that comes through. We had about $100,000 in estimated increase in tax, but about a 4% increase and about a 4% decrease in our capital outlay. What I really want to focus on, and I think the board saw it, we saw it in the work session, and if you're in the public, you can pull it up on board docs. Each year we redline out what's not going to get funded. So about $3.2 million did not get funded out of that we could use towards some of the initiatives that I mentioned. Things like Teacher Academy, Teaching Stanley Scholarship Program, classroom supplies, curriculum and instructional support initiatives. We've had to reduce that by $450,000. If we think safety and security, we've got roughly a $500,000 in SRO funding that won't happen. We've got hard to staff incentive bonuses, roughly $836,000 that won't get funded. Advanced academic teachers at our high schools, secondary instructional coaches. Those are really the main items, and then some other employee costs that the state does not cover. And if you're familiar with any of the allotment formulas from the state, they don't pay for everything. Per general statutes, I cannot remember the general statutes number, but the county is responsible to supplement the system. It just doesn't define how we're going to supplement that. If we go to capital outlay, this is even a bigger drop. 80% of our requests didn't get funded. And a lot of that is not discretionary on things that maybe the board or the superintendent or a director felt like needed to be done. 7 million, approximately, roughly 35% of the requests were to replace HVAC systems that have exceeded their end of life. I'll give you an example of how wasteful that is by not funding it. Is I believe it's South Stanley Middle School, where that hasn't been boiler wasn't replaced, and now we're having to rent it at $13,000 a month to start the school year until we can get the one in that we've purchased for $300,000.
Yeah, it's their HVAC system.
Yeah.
It's
So
the chiller.
so when you go across the board, things like that did not get funded this year. If we look again at the capital outlay, we look at some classroom panels for the teachers. We've had a huge reduction in the grades 3 through 12 student devices. That's over $400,000. Certainly K2, which I know was a debatable topic on the board, will not get funded. That was $450,000. If we look at some safety items like at Central and West Stanley High School, for some vestibules, that's $330,000 that won't get funded. $6.5 million for the HVAC systems. Playground equipment, $500,000. Security cameras, 170. So the list goes kind of on and on and on and on. Bleacher repairs, intercom repairs, tennis court repairs at North, South, and West Stanley High Schools, and some transportation issues as well. And if we think about some of the high schools, I believe we've got some freezers and some of the kitchen equipment that are exceeding their life as well. But for the public, walk away knowing that 80% of the requests did not get funded. and about 35% of that was HVAC systems. What I will say, and I do want to point out that what will get funded is charter school payments that pass through our budget. That's $875,000 that passes through our budget. And if you do the math on it, that adds about $100 in per pupil funding. I call it funny money. So when you look at some of the self-reported rankings that come out of the Commissioner Association, that's included. So you've got to go to the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction and look at their data. You've got to look at the independent think tank at the Public School Forum of North Carolina, where they sort of pull out some of the funny money. Where we do have some positives, and I believe that the county has worked with our board on funding, is on teacher supplements. When I came onto the board in late 21 and started serving on finance in 2022, it was a flat dollar supplement, roughly 4.5% of the total average teacher pay. The goal was to get to 8%, and we believe that we'll be able to do 6.5% this year. So we've been able to make a commitment. We changed it over from a flat dollar in 22, I believe it was 22 or 23, over to a percentage pay that, so every year that the state gives them a little bit of a raise, they get a little bit of a bump in the local supplement. So the county has stepped up. I believe it was around $300,000 that they were giving at the time that I came on. It's about, let's see, $1.3 million this year. That's a $300,000 increase over last year. But Mr. Dudney, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the total teacher supplement is still about $2.8 million. So it's not fully paid out of that line item provided from the county, closer to $3 million. Another positive is on our classified with our classified employees. The county allotted $300,000 to provide bonuses for them. I think equated that the board voted on to provide, I think it was $500 to each employee, paid twice in November and May or June, I believe it was, for the school year. And then lastly, about $150,000, I mentioned before, about 4% or $150,000 reduction in our ongoing recurring capital for this year. That puts us at a rank of 97th as of the 22 school year out of 100 counties. I was just pulling up the data for North Carolina DPI. If we exclude school nutrition out of 115 school districts, we rank 109th. Out of 115 school districts. If we add in school nutrition, just to remind the public, that operates a little bit like an enterprise, but you're capped at, I think it's a 2% profit. We've got to outlay the money to buy all the food per the contracts, and you've got the kids have to buy the food. There's always, I think, a 60 or 70% kind of penetration rate on that. All bundled in to say that we generate enough wealth and tax revenue in this county that ranks us mid-pack. I think that number is 59th out of 100 counties, yet we get outfunded per pupil by every county around us, including the poorer county. So I look forward to working with the Commissioner Board. It just makes it tough on the staff, the finance department, and how they're going to allocate the limited resources. And I think they do a fantastic job with what they're given. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lisk. Next, we have policy, Ms. Megan Allman.
Save the best for last. That's the most interesting. So our committee met last month, and there's policies that need to be tabled for 30 days, and that is policy 2230, board committees, and policy 2302, which is remote participation in board meetings. That pretty much applies to board members, actually, either certain criteria that they have to meet in order to call in. Policy 4150 is school assignment. Policy 7920 is reduction in force, teachers and school administrators. Policy 7921 is classified personnel reduction.
And those are, you're bringing those to us to be tabled for
30 days.
Any discussion on those?
Madam Chair, I have a question about remote participation at board meetings. So as I look through this and I see I'm on C, conditions and requirements for remote participation. Why have we crossed out so much?
Basically, our committee discussed these pretty extensively, actually, for 2 months. When you are an elected official and you sign up to do this job, it's the same to be expected when you walk into your full-time job. So out of town travel was crossed out. An unexpected lack of childcare was crossed out. Employment obligations was crossed out, and a scheduling conflict was crossed out, because basically there's any reason that you could not show up to a meeting. Now I will say, let me see where it is. Carla, you actually may be able to speak to that quicker since you have chaired policy, but I believe there's actually 3 times that you can call out.
Yeah.
So there is, you have three chances to not be able to participate. So I mean, I feel like that was a fair number.
Are we following what the North Carolina School Board Association recommends?
It's a recommendation. Different counties have different ones. We just looked at it as standing procedure for our board meetings and committee meetings is that we send out notice and try to gather a date that most people are available prior to setting a meeting date. So it's not necessarily like a conflict. It's kind of brought up prior to. So my thought process, and I mean, I'll speak to my comments in the committee was, a conflict could be I have a nail appointment or I'm getting a haircut. I mean, a conflict is a conflict. I don't feel like that should be an excuse not to make a meeting. If we set a meeting time, I owe it to the taxpayers and the voters that put me in this position to show up and do my job. So that was my thought on that. We traditionally just had like 4 or 5 reasons, I think, prior to this new guidance. And policies that come down from the School Board Association are suggestions. They're not things that we have to follow. It's just a suggested policy. It is up to the committee and the board to craft our own policy and what we feel is pertinent to our county and I guess our beliefs as a committee or as a board.
Okay, I guess I am used to following what the North Carolina School Board Association tends to recommend for us. I just want to point out that surrounding counties, and I've looked at Cabarrus, Montgomery, Anson-Davidson, Rowan, Charlotte-Mecklenburg, they have 9 reasons for that someone could attend remotely. Union allows for the reasons, all of them, other than like an unexpected childcare, but they added this to their permission, like if there's something that arises, they need to talk that over with the chair, or if it's a committee meeting, the committee chair. I just feel like that I would like to send this back to the, I'm recommending to Madam Chair to send this back to committee because I want to make sure we look at surrounding counties and what their reasons are, and that we are truly are following what the North Carolina School Board Association recommends. That's important. I think that's a legal component of it.
There's no legality
But
into
then I
following
would like
what
to just
they,
make sure
it's a
that we
recommendation.
send this back, Madam Chair, to the committee. If
Any other discussion?
Is that a motion or is that, I mean, that recommendation, is it just, she's recommending it?
She
Nobody,
can
are we
just
acting on that?
Mhm.
'Cause if there's an
You
action
can
on
just
that, I do
send that
wanna
back
discuss.
to the committee to revisit.
So that's a motion.
Yes, I
And you
think,
have a second.
no,
That's what, but where are we in the process? Because if this is gonna be voted on, I wanna talk about it.
Yeah, these are just ones to be tabled, Mr. Louder. So she's just requesting that for this one, and I don't know if there are others or not, that it would just be referred back to the committee.
there was a motion and a second to table them for 30 days. Now she's asking to send one back, so there has to be a motion to remove that one to send it
My
back.
question's procedural. What is
Yeah,
that?
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we haven't made a motion to table those or anything.
Does she
That-
decide
That's what's on
arbitrarily or?
here
does-
though. But yes, if she,
Thank you.
No, that's what I'm saying. So if you want one taken out,
You can ask the chair to send a motion back to committee. It's the chair's prerogative if she does or doesn't.
okay.
But you haven't gotten to that discussion today because you haven't seconded all these together.
I wanted to see if there are any other discussions, so just to make sure that is the only one that I will need to refer back to the committee. So are there any discussion on any other policies that we have listed here?
I just want to
that
make
are
sure
under the list.
that everybody knows that you get 3 that you can call in remotely within this
Mhm.
without using one of those excuses. You get 3. You get 3. And then on top of that, we're wanting to add more exceptions to that 3.
I tend to agree with Mrs. Gibson though, because it's been not just customary practice to follow the school board association. We look at what works for the county. We look at what the school board association has provided, and we look at other surrounding counties. And I think that arbitrarily sort of picking how many times we're going to or not do something, and not allowing things like um, a work engagement, for example. We have to modernize this policy, and that's in the surrounding counties. It's in the recommendation from the school board association. I would like to see it go back to committee as well.
Well, I want to say, when I was chair, I served with someone who, and I enjoyed serving with this person, but he had some commitments that his work took him out of the country even, but um, he had to remote in, or he had to phone in. I just feel like that we're isolating too much here, and I don't know, there's a part of me that's like, we do live in the 21st century, that we we just need to, again, we need to look at this. That's what I'm asking.
Hope, am I correct that normally this is just informational? We don't vote when we're putting the table in for 30 days? Correct? Okay, so we normally do not take a vote on that. So the recommendation of the chair will be that one policy,
I still would like to make a
2302,
comment then. So you're about to judge or rule that's going back to the committee.
as the chair, I am, yes. Unless you
Absolutely.
have
I'm not
any other
questioning that
discussion.
authority. I'm saying I don't know the process. That's a procedural question. I have a comment to make.
Okay,
I do not work for Cumberland County. I do not work for Montgomery County. I do not work for Cabarrus County. I do not work for Union County. I don't give a rat's patoot how they do things. My obligation is to the children of Stanley County. I don't want to be here tonight. I spent the last 4 days with my 4-year-old grandchild, left her in tears to be here. If I'm going to make those kind of commitments, I don't think it's asking that much for other people too. Now, when we went over these, I did not agree with all of these. 3 people on a committee, 2 people passes a specific. I'm still not totally agreement, but when it came out of committee that way, this is just an observation or perspective. The entire board doesn't seem to want to operate that way. So I have a real issue when things make me cringe when people say, we need to look at how other counties do it. I don't care. I don't care. We toured the schools. The schools we toured, those are my kids. As long as I'm on this board, those are my kids. The day I step off the board, y'all do whatever you want to. So the school board association makes recommendations, the state of North Carolina has statutes. Okay. The hierarchy for me is we will obey the law every time because we have to. Okay. the COVID mess was a great, indicator of that because I voted no. I said 6-1 for every single enrollment. We obey the law. The School Board Association, a wonderful association, great recommendations, great sources and resources. My expectation for Stanley County Schools, for the board members down to our custodians, is we're going to do what's best for our kids in Stanley County. So, and I don't mean to get on a soapbox, but I really don't care how they do things in Charlotte Mac. They have 10 times or 100 times the budget we do. I really don't care how they do things in Union. They get $70 million a year in extra money from sales tax. I don't care. My obligation is to the kids that we serve. So that's what I'm saying. Just so y'all know, I did not agree with.
Right.
It was a 2-1 coming out of there because y'all know I like to disagree anyway.
I agree with you.
Since it's coming out of committee, I feel we need to go. We need to move forward. But if it's in your prerogative, that's the procedure. Then do what you got to do, Madam Chair. I would support it.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate your comments.
I have one. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. List.
I just have a question on this student reassignment that was added. How do we come up with 90%? Like, where did that number come from? Like, you've added students will not be reassigned to schools that are identified as already exceeding core facility.
Which number is that?
It's the very last one.
So,
Is that
Miss
paragraph?
Almond,
Am
I
I-
think I asked for a specific number to put in there. So if you want me to speak to that.
Oh,
I-
absolutely. Go
I
ahead.
will. Okay. With it not having a specific number, and I went back and forth with Dr. Dennis on this, we don't know what capacity is. So if we just leave it blank, it's kind of arbitrary as to what capacity is. I think it was sort of the consensus of the group. It would help our committee that does the initial transfer process to know what schools are even open or allowing transfers in. And so without a number, it's hard to say, like, so that's where that 90% came from. Like if it's 90% full and then we have new enrollments for kindergarten and new enrollments coming in for different grades, chances are that's probably not a school that's going to be for open enrollment for transfers, if that makes sense. I hope that.
So to me, it's a little vague in
Well,
the policy.
It was a lot vaguer prior to the 90%.
Because I'm wondering, like the Western End, for example,
Right.
All the schools like Indy, if we consider that the Western End, that's a Western feeder, is like right below 90% with the addition. And then we've got Stanfield, Locust, and then if we counted Oakboro, K5, I mean we're over capacity.
Right.
So at what point, like employees and all the other exclusions for people that can get a reassignment under the policy, which one is going to
Because prior to
take
it
priority?
just said capacity. And I was like, well, what is capacity? Is capacity 80%? Is it 85? Is it 90? Is it 98%? Like, so Dr. Dennis, do you want to speak to kind of
if an
where?
employee wants to transfer, then does that mean that they can teach at Stanfield?
Well,
since Ms.
school
Dr. Merritt's
school
here?
assignment is for students, I
Mhm,
believe,
not
not
employees.
not
Yeah,
employees.
but they're students. What I'm saying.
Oh, their
Yeah,
child.
so
Okay,
that's just
sorry.
one
I
of the,
thought
like,
you were saying
I
a
think it
staff
was
person.
military one that we've as a board have used before.
I think
it-
those are outside of
We'll let
this.
the employee no matter what.
Yeah, I think
they
that's
can go with
outside.
the employee. That's not the. She had asked me about a number. And we didn't have a number, and she brought up 90, and I said, well, that is where it turns orange on the heat map, and that we just kind of left it there for the board to consider. But there was nobody that hung their hat on a particular number.
Mm-mm.
It's just a number that the committee wanted to put into place to kind of give a limit.
We
So
just
that they're saying, well, why is this one closing that one? That was just kind of conversation.
Yeah, we
You
just
see where
felt
they're at.
capacity in general was just too arbitrary for Dr. Murray and her team to kind of sit down and say, well, what do we consider capacity? That gave them a little more structure to say, okay, school A, B, and C are not open for selective transfers because they're at this
So if
number.
I'm just trying to clarify. So if military, for example, like part of the redistricting that we did,
Mm-hmm.
submitted a request for reassignment
Mm-hmm.
to one of the schools, like on the Western End,
Mhm.
are we as a board now saying that we're not going to approve something like that?
No,
As
we
in-
are saying that we are going to take care of our military children just like we were going to take care of our employed.
No,
Children.
what
Well,
it's giving
Not
is
quite clear in the policy,
what it's giving is them a
because they
number.
don't get that automatically.
Okay. What it's giving is them a number for the initial, there's an initial band of transfers and then a second band of transfers, and then all appeals come to us still.
But then
So-
that's a policy that you're
For-
writing in that we wouldn't allow, if I'm reading it correctly, and I could be reading it
I
wrong.
didn't write in capacity. That was in
the
the
committee,
thing.
But we're adding that line item number 6 that says, so I'm gonna use the military example.
Hang on.
If a
hold on.
military parent has a student, and they're requesting a transfer to one of the Western End schools because that's going to help them in their situation, according to this policy, we're not now going to allow that.
If you
And I
look,
felt like it was the
That's-
purview of the board that we were going to help our military folks.
if you look under D,
Except
request-
provided by general statutes. There's general statutes around military service.
and also if you look under D,
But we have military that,
if I can finish what I'm saying so I can explain, please. If we look under D, request for reassignment, and you go all the way to the bottom and it says E, other request for reassignment, and then you compare that to our state statutes, that's where the military is looking to be covered. Am I wrong on that? Because
Yeah,
we
because
talked
we've
about
had-
this for 2
we've
months.
had military appeals, right?
Hmm.
And that weren't part of the policy to get approved.
So are you saying that under E, on the very bottom, that you would like for us to go ahead and put military, verbatim military in there for
I
other
think
requests?
It's just one opinion here.
Mm.
And I appreciate what the committee has done. I feel like adding that line in there is going to place too much restriction to the purview of the board to decide, like, and that's just one scenario, that if a military appeal comes up, that we're looking at the policy saying, well, we can't do that because the policy committee just added in that we can't send you to a school at 90% capacity. And I'm just trying to understand it because I know there are going to be other scenarios and I feel like that it's too restrictive.
So 6 reads, students will not be reassigned to schools that are identified as already exceeding core facility capacity of 90% except as provided by general statutes. The schools that are identified will be listed when the application window opens.
Can I interject?
Doesn't
here?
say you can't apply there. It says those will not be listed as schools that are open. People still file appeals, just like when they get denied by Dr. Murray and her team on the first time, they still file appeals. Appeals will still come to us. This is for the initial appeal process for her to have a,
But out of the policy committee, there's been the commentary that we need to follow policy. So, okay, I agree.
yes,
But if we add this extra line in here, it just seems, and I'm just
it's not an extra line. It was literally a number. The core capacity was already in there.
well, the whole thing is red. So,
Yeah, but that
so
was
the way that
already
I
in
read
there.
this, and just like every other policy in here, the changes were in red.
That whole statement was put in right before when we were doing the stuff. It never quite got approved.
So exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Because we backed
it's
it off
not
because
part
we
of our
had
current policy.
the stuff going.
No.
If I
Yeah,
remember
I
correctly.
would like to send that back to committee to review.
What would you like for us to review exactly, if you will sum it up together?
It's very difficult to sum it up together other than giving you kind of a scenario of saying, if we're going to follow policy, and that's what the policy committee has asked, and we add in a restrictive policy like this, then we're going to be put in a scenario where a military personnel may need to get into a school in the county. I'm using the Western End because we're overcrowded out there in every school. And by this policy, we are not going to allow it.
So you want us to put in a line item allowing military?
I feel like it shouldn't be there.
But that's
The whole line should not just leave the policy as is and just not add number 6 here.
Can I ask, interject?
didn't
real
have
quick?
it.
Policy 4050 still is intact. which
Yeah.
guarantees that same
Mhm.
individual. I appreciate you fighting for that, by the way.
Mhm.
You know what my heart is.
Yeah,
How
well,
about you, brother?
I'm appealing to your emotion over there. I know, but I listened to
Yeah, man.
what the purview of the board has been and what the comments have been to the board, and this to me, when I read it, the first time it was put on there, and then it was sort of tabled, and here we are tabled. It just seems contrary to that purview.
Because
Like,
I don't know who added 6 originally. It was not
because
me.
it's not part of the policy now.
No,
Yeah.
it was added. And so
The whole
to me, it said exceeding core capacity. And I'm like, well, what is core capacity? That's where I
So
came
my
from.
ask, I guess, would
To
be
try
of the
to like,
committee is if you'll look at it and just consider just not even adding it in there and just leave it out, because I didn't see any other changes to the policy unless I missed it. Any of the other sections, I didn't see any changes.
children of permanent full-time SCS
Yeah, that was the
employees.
only other thing. Permanent full-time employees.
Oh, yeah, the perm,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I would be fine with that.
So let's do this, if you will, Dustin, and also Ms. Gibson, for the policy 2302, remote participation in board meetings, and policy 4150, school assignment. If there are recommendations from any board member, if they could please just email Ms. Alman any suggestions that you're trying to make to those policies so that we can send those back to the committee. I would ask you, Ms. Alman, and your committee to look at those 2 policies again, hopefully make a few changes to those where it can come back to the board. And when it does make it to the board and needs a vote, it's something that the board will be able to approve.
Okay.
So-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So then we only have let's say we have 3 policies then would just need to be tabled for today. That would be 2230 board committees, 7920 reduction in force teachers and school administrators, and policy 7921 classified personnel reduction.
There is one more policy that we had emailed Mr. Louder to hear what his opinion is, and it's going to be for policy 2310, public participation. The committee met for 2 months discussing this, just like we have the other policies. And we have been hearing from the public that they would like to see certain things done when it comes to public participation. And so our committee met, and we are actually requesting that we extend the 3 minutes to 4 minutes, which is only 1 minute more, an extra 5 minutes, for a total of 20 minutes. So that would give us about 5 speakers. And then the part that we emailed Mr. Louder on was there is a line in the committee on page 4 that states board members will not be able to respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. This was actually my ask because if we are going to sit here and listen to presenters, like bus transportation and such, board members should be able to communicate with the individuals to honor them that they took time out of their night. And if we're going to look at other counties and compare ourselves to other counties, county commissioners are actually, they carry on dialogue with the people and the public, and it's very welcoming. Whereas I feel like when community members come to speak to us, it's a dead stare, does not open a door for communication, it actually closes it. So Hope emailed Mr. Louder asking that, and so Mr. Louder informed that he does have an update on that.
Do you have copies of that policy for the board since that did not make its way to the agenda?
Yeah, I don't have a copy. It would just be under the library, under their committees.
It's 20.
It's probably
310.
listed. It's probably listed under the public comment section. It's usually listed on our agenda every time.
Mr. Louder.
Some to add to that.
2310.
2310. Mm-hmm.
All right. and I'll read what I believe I was asked about. I was asked to, that y'all would like to receive clarification on interacting with the public during the designated public comment time. And out of that rather lengthy 2310B public comment, there is one line that is attuned to that, and I'll just read it. It says, board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. First of all, each of these policies has some statutory reference, and the statutory reference, there are 3 statutes to this one, and I won't go into the weeds and tell you about all that. That particular line is not in any of those statutes. But having said that, it is clear from the statutes that support this policy that the purpose of this law, and there's a law behind having this in our policy, is to enable the public to give information to the school board. That is the purpose. Now, having read this, this does not preclude you from discussing anything with the public. And in fact, it adds, it says, except for a clarification. I'll use an example. If the public says, well, 8% of students do this, if a board member says, did you say 8 or 18? That's asking for a clarification. That's understandable. So, but if you want to speak to them or engage them in dialogue, you can as a board. I'm saying that. On the other hand, if you do, there is an unintended consequence of that because of what the purpose of the policy is. The purpose of the policy, remember, is to give the public the opportunity to give you as much information as they possibly can within a very limited period of time. So if you engage with them in a discussion or a debate, or however you want to say that, the unintended consequence of that is at the end, the public that is speaking is going to ask the chair, I want additional time because you took up half of my 3 minutes on your soliloquy discussing my subject that I came to talk to you about. So I'm saying that will happen. My suggestion is that, yes, I do agree. It is better to address the public because obviously they made the issue come here, spend their time, and address you. But the better way to do that, in my opinion, this is not a legal opinion, this is just my opinion, is that you have your time at the very end of the meeting and you have more than 3 minutes, and you can use that to direct your comment to say, Mr. John Doe said this and said that, and I agree with that, or I disagree with that, and this is why I disagree, or he's wrong, and you have an abundance of minutes at the end that you can do that. And I know it might not, you might want to jump into it and say something right then when they're saying something to you. I know that's an inclination, but you do have an opportunity to speak to the public on their issue. I just want to make it clear that it's their time. And when they feel that you're taking their time, you're going to hear about that it's their time and they want their whole time, because we know 3 minutes is a very closed time period. When they come up and have 3 pages that they want to read to you, it's tough to get through just that. So that's my comments on your
Thank you.
question.
And just to clarify too, our committee, I'm sure this wasn't in the email, Mr. Louder, our committee wasn't looking at interrupting their time because we want to give them more time to speak. It was basically just to, after they are done speaking, to have dialogue if it's needed. But thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I'm actually going to take this particular policy back to our committee as well, because we forgot to request and talk about it during the meeting. But we would also like to, if somebody signs up to speak and they have to leave, or we would like to see that person be able to yield their time.
Okay, so you, your committee will just handle that then,
Mhm.
when you have your next policy committee meeting. So if we'll go back to the ones that we're going to table, it'll be 2230 board committees, 7920 reduction in force teachers and school administrators, policy 7921 classified personnel reduction. The two policies that will be referred back to the committee will be policy 2302 remote participation in board meetings, and also policy 4150 school assignment.
So, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion if that's what you're,
I don't
no,
think
you don't
we
need one.
normally don't vote on that, the ones that are tabled. It's just informational.
Chair,
Yes.
chair can table.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we'll send those two back and the others will be tabled. Do you have anything
we
else?
have to make a motion to rescind that policy.
You can do that next month when all of it
Mhm.
comes back.
She's got on their policies to
Oh,
be rescinded
okay.
next
Sorry,
month.
sorry.
The only policy to be rescinded is 5080.
Right, and that's
Blood
on there
board.
for next
I just
month.
thought we had to do
Okay.
it today. Okay.
All right, so that should finish up policy. Next, we have auxiliary services. Mr. Dutney, you do not look like Keith Benton.
Get rid of that one today. I was like, oh, okay.
I'm bringing to your attention tonight the boiler bids for the Baden Elementary School. These are repairs. This is not a brand new boiler. A brand new boiler would be sizable amount more than this, but our, there was 3 bids. Garmin, Mechanical Services, Southern Mechanical Services, and CSS Boiler and Mechanical Supply. And out of the 3, the lowest one is Southern Mechanical Services at $50,334. With the difference in the next one was only like $1,500 less. So to the board, I'm recommending that we accept the bid of Southern Mechanical Services.
Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation for the bid for Southern Mechanical Services in the amount of $50,334?
Move to approve Southern Mechanical Services.
Do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Do we have a timeline on the repair?
Well, what Keith had told me earlier today when I talked with him was as soon as it was approved, we were going forward with it. So I don't know exactly the time frame, but I can find that out.
The
let you know.
timeframes to have it approved before we make the switch over to heat. Because we'll make the switch about November 1st.
Around November.
Have it approved or have it repaired? Okay, so
Sorry. Yeah,
I
yeah,
just,
that- that-
okay, just making sure. Okay, yes, that makes sense. Thank
I
you.
mean, to have everything approved.
Yeah.
but you're
Mhm.
right,
Yes,
yes.
okay, thank you.
Southern Mechanical, that's a local company,
Yes,
correct?
yes, Avalon.
Okay.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Bring it in.
That bid is approved. Thank you, Mr. Dudley. Next, we have personnel, Ms. Hendrick.
Good evening, board. For your review this evening, we do have the September personnel agenda. Of course, section 1 is simply for your information and requires no action, but section 2 does require your approval. So this evening, I'm requesting your approval of section 2 of the personnel agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve section 2 of the personnel agenda?
Move
Motion.
to approve section 2.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion in that?
You have the chart in front of you.
Yes, sir.
I could be wrong. I should have asked this in closed, sorry. But on section B, section 2, B, the third item, is that lady already working for us?
No.
Has she already worked for us or is
She's
she?
working for us, but
At last check, she still had to do onboarding, so she was not in place yet.
I'm confusing them somebody.
No,
I'm sorry.
she has
It's okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Those are approved.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Ms. Hedrick. We appreciate all you do. Next, we have comments. Mr. Louder, I know you said you only had one short thing, just to tell us the budget wasn't approved.
That's it.
Thank you so much for that information, Mr. Louder. Okay. Any board member comments?
Did Dr. Dennis want to go first?
You want
I'll
to
go first. Yeah.
You go first.
I'll make it
Dr.
brief. I
Dennis.
know it's getting late. just a few days coming up. Well, first of all, I would like to say I'd be remiss if I didn't thank everyone, whether it be parents, students, or the staff that's worked to make it a great intro into the school year. Thought everything went really well. We're up in our right now anyway. We're up in our ADM a little bit, and I just thought that everything went really smooth. And it can always be a tumultuous time, the beginning of a year, and everybody did an outstanding job. As far as upcoming days, September 8th is an International Literacy Day. September 11th, I think goes without saying, is 9/11 Remembrance Day. September 16th is National IT Professionals Day. September 17th is Constitution Day, and 26th is National Teacher Assistant Day. The week of September 7th to the 13th is the National Arts and Education Week. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any board member comments? Swanson?
Y'all ain't gonna want to hear me now. Can you hear me now? All right, real quick. We did our first round of tours of the schools, East, Albemarle Middle, Albemarle High School, and Albemarle High School STEM. I live for that stuff. And I don't know if people remember this, but when I first came on the board, I came from classroom. In 28 years, I never saw the full school board ever come to the school, or even a big chunk of it. I saw the county commissioners one time in 28 years. So for me, the reason to go is to let the people that are there working their tails off know we care what you're doing. And also, I like to go feed off the kids' energy because I lived off that for 20 years. I got to tell a story on the kid at the Albemarle Middle School. I'm not going in your classrooms to see if kids are on task, but there was one kid off task. Okay. He had his Chromebook turned kind of sideways and he was over there. And I walked by there and he had a Nitro RC website pulled up. And it was like an English class. It's probably not what we're supposed to be doing. But that kid, that's me back in the day. So we had this little conversation about, Nitro RC. And then I said, if you pay attention to the English teacher, you'll learn how to read those tech names. So it's just a really cool thing. But I live for those tours, and our teachers, our admins, our cafeteria bus drivers, everybody. The start of the school year has been pretty darn impressive compared to some years in the past. And we got some great news coming out soon, don't we, Dr. Dennis?
Yes, sir, we do. Won't be long.
I'm going to echo something Dustin said a little while ago. Shame on our county commission and shame on Stanley County taxpayers for allowing it. When you see how well our schools are doing compared to how we're being funded locally, it's a little bit embarrassing. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Well, I'll go. I think Bill stole my thunder a little bit. I was too also excited to get back in the schools and see our staff and our students hard at work the first couple of weeks of school. It's always an exciting time. Kids are, I think, excited to be back for the most part. Some of them not so excited, but on our visits the other day, and I did have to squeak out just a teeny bit early, and I missed the STEM early college, and I apologize for anybody that I missed up there. But it was very good to see kids back at work and staff excited and eager for the school year, and that's something that we always look forward to. And I appreciate having those days that we can go in and just share those moments with our staff and students. And we have some really great things happening at some of our schools. I alluded to some of that a little bit earlier in the evening in closed about some specific staff members. But I'm just very excited to see what this school year holds for all of our students and our schools. So thank you.
Any other board member comments?
Yeah. Well, I have one. Thank you, Miss Lindsay Merritt, for sitting here during the whole meeting. So, gonna clap for you, okay? And your global awareness school. And I thought about you when we had that presentation. And also, thank you. I too enjoy the school visits, and I've had a chance already to read, and with a school which is up my forte, and I'm able to be in my element. But that's it.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to touch on one thing I forgot in the Finance Committee report that we did talk about when we went over it in the work session, is federal planning allotments. We will receive a cut in that this year, just under $500,000. and that is on the table. That was withheld, as I understood it, but then released. But it is on the table with the federal administration and Congress to be cut for next year. Give you an idea of where we're cut this year and where the potential is to lose it for the 26-27 school year. And again, this is in board docs. The board has seen it. We get about $5.9 million last year total in federal allotments. That's this year will be about 5.4. Our biggest cuts, one was in Title I, that's PRC code 50. That was cut this year about $240,000. That pays for some teachers, TAs, tutors, and curriculum coaches. Total allotments about $2.4 million is on the table to be cut next year. We had about $107,000 cut in Title II funding. That is PRC code 103, if I can read my writing correctly. And that pays for 3 positions. That's AVID, beginning teacher coordinator, and a part-time math coach who's a retired teacher. The other largest outside of Title I is I can't remember the title, but it's PRC 60, which I believe is the exceptional children funding. That allotment this year is about 2.3, and that was cut about $26,000. And I think Mr. Dudney, was that on the table for being cut for 26-20? That one was good. Yeah. So it was just Title I that we're looking at being cut for 26-20. Yep, be a reduction. Then we had Title III, Title IV. Title III's ESL $350,000 cut looking for 26-27. And $190,000 cut in 26-27 is on the table for Title IV funding, which cover things like swimming lessons and the DLI program. So it's just out there. I don't know if the state's going to pick that up, what's going to happen, out of our control, but that is money that comes down to all the school systems, and it would hit us pretty hard if we were to lose, more than $500,000 that we've already lost for this year.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Watson?
I would like to thank the teachers for everything that they are doing. I know a student that came from a Christian school that went to one of our elementary schools in the Western End. His parents were very, very impressive. And he told his grandparents, he said, this is going to be the best year I've ever had. So that tells you we've got some good things going. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Watson. Anyone else? Dr. Dennis, I just want to say I thank you for what you do. I thank you for your cabinet that's here. It's a long night for you guys. I know when you're just sitting here, these board meetings are not the most interesting at times. Elliot, I appreciate you being here and getting our live stream going. I know that takes your time to do that. And Ms. Flo, we appreciate what you do. I hope I got the last name right. Sorry if I didn't. I'm talking to you. And Hope, also thank you. I know you are kind of our right-hand person, and you are the one that probably gets all the phone calls when we have issues with things, and so we appreciate what you do. So it looks like we did have a good start to the school year. Our first school visit, we visited most of the city school, and it was just a good day. It was a good vibe in the schools when you went in. And so I think we all enjoyed that. Our board does try to go out every month. We probably need to add some additional visits to that, but it was a good day that day. I also just wanted to read the same statement that I read at our last meeting last month, because I had some additional questions from people concerning the public forums that are being held around our county, that the Stanley County Board of Education wants to clarify that the public forum that was held on August the 14th and also the one that will be held on September the 11th was not sponsored, organized, or officially sanctioned by this board. Our board members are welcome to attend, and there have been some board members who have attended. Those who are making it clear that you're there personally and not as a board member, I appreciate you doing that. Our next board meeting will be Tuesday, October the 7th, and we'll be back in the Gene McIntyre room. The commissioners kicked us out tonight. but that's okay. They had to move their meeting. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We are adjourned.